Good morning. Today is a miserable day. It is pouring down rain. I'm off on layoff for my job. I work at the Ford plant and we are out of computer chips. So this is my second week of layoff and my second day this week of rain. It cleared off for a little while yesterday. I was able to get some stuff done. But it's pouring down rain today. Today looks like a total washout. I got down here yesterday and looked at some of my frames. I've been using a lot of frames. I got some nukes and stuff outside. So I've been using those in my boxes as I need them, and I've been needing them a lot. I've been making some videos, a lot of short videos of what I've been doing, but this is the life in a year of a beekeeper. So I wanted to take a minute to kind of update everybody where I'm at and what's going on right now, what's going on with the hives. Today is the 4th of May, and I know that because everybody's saying May the 4th be with you. Megan and Josh has got an anniversary today, so I do know what today is. I always get on here and do these videos and forget to look at the date, and then I can't go back on my phone and look at the date because I'm doing a video. But anyway, it is May the 4th, and a lot of stuff's been going on. And like I say, I've been videoing certain parts of it, but I just want to update everybody on what is going on in the apiary and in the progress to try to get built back up from the 50 hives that I used to have. I got down to one. I've ended up making 3 splits off of that one hive. The first hive I made really early. You'll see videos on that. I've got a couple. A lot of people said it was too early, and I wasn't convinced it was not too early myself. So, but they've got a great queen, got a great brood pattern. Made it through some really cold nights soon after I split them, and done very good. Bees are very resilient. They handle a lot of stuff on their own. They make us look like really good beekeepers when it's really not much that we did and a whole lot that they did. But that hive's doing good. I made 2 more splits off of it and left out at the property. That original hive was at the property. I've got 2 more splits out of it. One of them I've split. I remember now why I like moving the hives after I split them, or nukes after I split them. Walk-away split, I guess you could call it. I don't know. Modified walk-away split, but I made 2 splits nukes there at the property, and one of them just with the bees that were on the frames, and those were, the first time I checked them, were down to nothing. I don't think that one's probably going to make it, but I might be surprised again. And the other one I shook, I think I moved 4 frames over and maybe shook another 2 or 3 frames in with them. So I haven't checked those yet. Video will be soon to come on those. Let's see if they made it. I'll tell you if they made it or if they didn't. We shall see. But these swarm traps, man, I wished I'd have started this a long time ago. They have been doing really good. Ended up with 20 of them. A lot of videos I'm making the swarm traps. I was in here this winter. But I got all 20 of them up. I've been putting lure in them. The way I've been doing it, it seems like it's working. I didn't really know how often to bait the traps with the Swarm Commander is what I got. Everybody said it was great. But I didn't know, everybody's got different ideas on how to bait them, when to bait them. When to put the lure in and how much. You can't put too much in or it's a deterrent, but you got to have some on there. So what I've ended up doing, I've got some lemongrass oil as well from the bee supply house right here up the road. It was only like $5, and the Swarm Commander, just for a little bottle, was like 30 bucks. I don't remember. It was actually cheaper here than it was at Kelly's, Man Lake, whatever they're called now. But I ended up putting 2 drops in the opening of the swarm trap every 2 weeks. And then I drizzle after the rains. You know, it'll rain, and then whenever the rain stops, I go out and put 2 drops in and put drizzle some of that lemongrass oil on the top of the hive. That way it can't be a deterrent for inside, and it still hopefully the smell will draw them into that box. So that's what I've kind of been doing, is drizzle that on after the rains, and every 2 weeks I put 2 drops in the traps, and it's been working good. Been noticing a little bit that I've been catching swarms not long after I refreshed the lure. So I don't know if that means I need to put a little bit more lure in there. I think it's been working out pretty good so far, so I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. But I've got 20 traps out. I've caught, I think, 7 so far. I know I caught 3 for sure. I went Monday, I think, of last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure on the date. I've got it wrote down. I went out at dusk and got those and brought them back here, and I've already put those into regular either nukes or full-size boxes, and they are really doing good. We got one from the property, and I'm sure it's probably ready for a second box by now. A nuke, I've got one in a 6-frame nuke, and I'm pretty sure they're probably ready to go into a full-size box. And then I've got the other one is at the property, and I'm guessing I put them, they was kind of small for a full-size box, but I wanted to see how they do, so I still got to get in there after this rain. Our property's muddy, so I can't get out there until it dries up, so I have to wait a couple days after the rain. One reason I brought 4 back here to the house, we have 1 acre lots here at the subdivision that I live in, and my neighbors haven't said anything yet. Hopefully they won't. But I ended up bringing 4 swarm traps back here to the house. But I just set the traps out down here with my other 3 hives. I made some space for them yesterday between rain showers, and put a frame. I used a 2x6 treated frame on the ground, and then I put some landscape film under that, and then I used a little bit of the red mulch just to keep the weeds down right around the hives. I can't tell you how many times I've weeded right up next to and try to get in between, and the grass comes up between the boxes. It's just almost impossible to keep up with. But anyway, I put those 4 traps here. I left them facing the same way. I'm probably going to try to use, when you get a line of beehives all in a line, what will happen is that they'll go into the hive on this end will be really super strong, and the hive on that end will be super strong. So the bees will come back, and over the course of time, they go in those end hives more than they do the ones in the center, especially if they're all painted white and they all look alike. Bee comes in with pollen, with a load with pollen or nectar or carrying stuff. She's accepted into the hive. They don't kick her out. If drones, they won't let in, and then if she doesn't have anything, they won't let her in. But if she's carrying a load, they'll usually let her in. So those hives will end up stronger, and the ones in the middle weaker. So I got some colored hives. I've got an orange one orange box sitting over here in the corner. Some gray boxes, and I'll probably try to use some colors to keep them, when I move those into boxes, to keep the bees going into the right box. But I got those 4 traps sitting down there now. I'll wait till the rain's over. I like for them to stay in the tree where the trap is for enough for them to get some brood laid and get going a little bit. On the original ones, man, I can't believe how fast they built up. They built all the frames out. I put mainly foundation, some starter strips, usually an old frame, and they have everything drawn completely out. Plus, on the bottom, with the extra space on the bottom, there's been some burr comb. So the first 3, I wasn't quite ready for that burr comb, but on these 4, whenever I go into them, I'll have some frames ready with some rubber bands, and I'm going to rubber band those into frames and save, because there were some eggs in there, some stuff that I wasted because I wasn't prepared for that. But on these 4, I'll have that ready. But I like to leave them in the tree for a few days, bring them to the house. These are all probably maybe, I don't know, 3 to 6 days since they've told me, hey, I got bees in this trap. So I'm expecting them to do good, but I got them here, and after this rain's over, I'll let them orient to the area. They don't know. They're going to come out of the hive when the rain stops and say, we don't recognize this area. And they're going to do orientation flights, and they'll be flying all around the hive. And then once they orient to where they are, they start going out. It won't be long. They'll be collecting nectar and pollen and bringing stuff back. So I'll let them orient once I see that they're oriented to the area, so that there's not too much stress on them at one time, which will only take maybe a day or 2 after the rain. I'll go ahead and transfer them, get some boxes ready and transfer them into regular boxes. I had gotten a bunch of boxes ready, and the majority of our hives I've got on a trailer out at our property. And so I just stacked a bunch of the empty boxes that I'd gotten ready around that trailer. Well, it's left me, I've got a lot of stuff that needs to be worked on here, but it's left me without any equipment here at the house. So I've got to get 4 boxes ready. I've got boxes and frames. I'm getting frames ready now. I had to go out in the rain and get my hive tool. My new one's out there somewhere, I hope. Couldn't find it. But these frames are all kind of cruddy. Probably the worst thing I hate about beekeeping is scraping these frames and getting frames ready. But with that said, and trying to get my numbers back up, I'm glad I've got these frames that I can take a rainy day. And like I said, I don't necessarily like to do it, but I'm glad I've got them. I don't have to go buy frames, brand new frames, because I've got these. I just got to clean them out, and they're a wreck. This is actually a pretty good one. So I'm gonna get them cleaned up. I've got boxes, I've got frames, I've got some foundation left back here, but I don't have bottom boards. I've got a couple. I fixed one bottom board that the screen was falling out of. I use all screen bottoms. I fixed it and just stapled some screen in there. I kind of folded it on the edges, and it's not perfect, but it'll make do, and the bees can't get out the bottom, which is a good thing. At least not out through that screen. But I got it fixed up, but I need 4 more bottom boards. I need 4 inner covers and 4 outer covers for these 4 traps that I got. I want to get them into boxes as quick as I can, because apparently those are really good spots where I had them, and I want to get these traps back out there and maybe catch another one in the same spot. A lot of stuff that I've researched on these traps is that people will catch, they'll have, I've seen a lot of stories of, I had 10 traps out and I caught 12 swarms in 10 traps. Well, they're, 2 or 3 or 4 of them might not catch anything, but they're catching multiple swarms in the same location after they put the trap back out there. So I want to get them back out as soon as I can, but the rain's holding everything up right now. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I know I've got those 3 swarms, so I know I've got 3 hives from that. I know I've got the nuke, a split, that's 4. My original hive, I put 2 honey supers on that, by the way. I think they'll be putting in a lot of honey here in the next few days if this rain will stop. So that's 3, 4, 5. I know for sure I've got 5, and then with these 4 traps down here, hopefully I've got 9. The one I picked, I had 2 traps with bees in them at Casey's, and I picked those up last night after dark, and they seemed they were lighter than the ones I picked up at Dad's and at Chris's. So I'm hoping there's a good, it might be just a small swarm, or they might just be on the frames and didn't come down, but when I brought them home, usually they're dying to get out as soon as you bring them back. The worst time for bees, or the time that bees are going to be the most mad, I guess, is when you transport them. So after being transported, they are wound up. It's one reason I like to do it at night, because they'll come out a little bit at night, but they go right back in. You can do it in the morning. They're all in there in the morning. If you do it in the morning, and by the time you get back, get everything done and get back, and they come out and it's daylight, they're just mad. So it's not, I like to do it at night a lot better. But those traps seemed a little weak. There was one trap, I'm not sure if it was Chris's or Dad's, but those bees were just busting to get out. And Dad told me that the one I picked up at his house, I think he's seen them go in, but he said they were piled up on the outside of that trap. So I'm not sure if that was because they were so strong, or because they were just moving in and couldn't all get through the entrance at the same time. But I think those 2 might be a little bit stronger than Casey's. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to getting into them. Like I say, I don't think it's going to be today. It's storms. I think it is supposed to clear off a little bit later on, but there's calling for like 2 to 3 inches of rain today, and flooding and all that stuff. So it's going to be a pretty soggy day. So I'm gonna stay out here and get some more foundation ready. I've tried and I still got several starter strips, and they've drawed out. That's another thing too. They've drawed out several of the starter strips. Everybody says make sure your hive is even to put a level on it to make sure it's perfectly level when you use starter strips. And I found that to be true because I seen one starter strip drawn completely out, but it was drawn at an angle. My wires are over here and the comb is over here, so it wasn't level enough or plumb enough for that to draw that straight down. So I kind of learned a lesson on that. And then another thing I seen is one of the starter strips that they draw out, and I've heard this a lot too, is that it was all this whole frame that they drawed out in only a few days. It was quick. Swarms draw out comb quick, but they had drawn it out, and it was a whole lot of drone brood. It was a whole lot more, which you need drones. I don't ever try to get rid of drone brood, but man, that was a whole frame almost of drone brood. So I'm not sold on the starter strips. I like foundation. And later on, everybody says, well, if I'd have known about plastic foundation, I'd have started using it a lot earlier. I've used some plastic, and they'll take the plastic foundation, which is over here, and then connect it, but build a comb over beside it. And that's a problem. Then you got to wipe out and scrape all that work that they did off, and it doesn't line up right in your hive. As of right now, where I'm at, how many hives I've got, what I'm doing, I like wax foundation. They can chew it. Bees a lot of times will chew that wax and use it in other places, and they'll chew holes through it where they can get from one side to the other. Plastic they can't do that with. So and everybody says, well, foundation is, it's so hard to put in, I can just pop the plastic in. Well, they say that, but then they'll take the plastic and, oh yeah, well, I've got a roller here, and I heat up a crock pot full of wax, and I dip my roller in it, and I roll 3 coats or 5 coats of wax on here, and that really does a trick. Well, if you got to do all that, why not just use wax foundation to start with, and then it's going to be work one way or the other. So, but I don't know. Like I say, I think a lot of things in these videos, it seems like a lot of the stuff you see, and I've already seen it watching other people on YouTube videos that, that's, I'll never do that. And then the next thing you know, later on in another video, they're doing stuff that they said they never would do. So I won't say I'll never do it, but I'm saying that's for right now. I'll stick with my foundation and pay for it and go to the trouble of putting it in because I know it works. And it's, like I say, it's amazing, these traps. There's been some of them I've had just foundation in, an old comb and foundation, 4 frames of foundation, and they draw it out quick. I thought I'd go in there and find it, partially drawn, but they're really drawing it out quick. Also interested to see if I know the primary swarms you get early in the swarm season are a lot of times bigger, so I'm interested to see if these swarms are going to get smaller as we go along into the swarm season. And I think we still got some time left, and there'll be several more swarms hopefully. So we'll see how it goes, and if the swarms get smaller over time. If they do, I've got some of these nukes set up as swarm traps that I did before I built the bigger ones. I was resistant to the 40 liter swarm trap, I guess. And I thought, well, I've got time to build them, and if that's supposed to be the ideal space, I'll go ahead and do that. But I'd built some nuke, just put some boards on some nukes to catch some swarms too, but I haven't put any of them out yet. Everybody too says, I've caught, which is I'm not to 50% yet, so I'm not done terribly great, but everybody says lost my train of thought. Oh, they say to put them up 15 feet in the air. Some people do, and some people say it doesn't matter, which I didn't think it mattered because I've caught them on the ground, just have an empty box on the ground and they move in. So I've been putting them all up at, eye level or where I can reach them, and where it's easy for me to reach, and I've caught 7, I think, so far. So it hadn't seemed to matter that they wasn't high up in a tree. I've got a couple spots. I got a spot at my daughter's house, Amy, down in they're kind of down in the woods and not so much on the edges of the woods. And I haven't seen any scout bees or anything there yet. So I don't know if I've got them too far in the woods or if that's just not many, good hives and trees around. I don't know what it is, but I haven't got many there. So I'm kind of waiting to see how that does. I may move one of those and see if I get any more activity. I don't know. I've had some people asking about swarm traps, and I guess the questions I've seen most about swarm traps is, how do you know when a swarm moves in? Because the first time I checked the traps, I was sitting there watching bees go in, and I watched probably 50 bees go into the trap. And I seen, out of those 50, I seen 2 bees go in with pollen. And everybody says, well, if there's pollen going in, they've taken up residence, they're in there. Well, they wasn't in there. I don't know if these bees just smelled it on the way back or what, but 2 bees out of 50 went in with pollen, and they were still scouts or just checking out that smell or whatever. I don't know. But that's not necessarily true. The things I have found to be true to know that there one in there has set up shop in there is if they're in there at dusk, scout bees will go home to their own hive at nighttime. If it's right before dark and they're still bees there at the entrance, then they probably moved in. And the other thing I've noticed, if you see drones go in there, every time I've seen drones go in there, I've had the bees were in there and moved in. But it's hard to tell, man. There's a lot of, I've seen several of them so far that had enough scout bees to make it look like they had set up shop, but they're hundreds of bees. And seen other people have sent me videos of their traps and have a bunch of bees going in, but they haven't set up shop. They were just checking it out. So every time before swarms moved in, there's been a lot of bees checking it out. There's bees in the area. I don't know of, my one buddy said, I don't think there's any bees around here. I don't remember seeing any last year. And I said, what, you have a fruit tree? And he had a cherry tree out front that was fully bloomed out. So let's go look at it. So we went and looked at his cherry tree, and it had bees all over it, honeybees, just, and all kind of bees. I mean, it was just covered in bees, but there was a lot of honeybees, and I ended up catching so far one swarm over there. So I don't know of any areas. My daughter at her house, I haven't seen any activity at the traps again, but she's got an ornamental peach, I think, out front, and it's been covered in honeybees. So there's honeybees around there. I don't know of any place where I'm at that there's not any bees, that you don't see bees if you've got a blooming fruit tree or whatever. So bees are most everywhere. We can argue about whether or not they're feral, wild swarms, how long they've been wild, if they come out of a beekeeper's hive. We could argue about that and other stuff for days, I guess. But I do think I was always told before when I was keeping bees, there's no more wild swarms. They're all beekeepers. They're either from a beekeeper's hive or they swarmed out of a beekeeper's hive last year. They just won't make it in the wild. I don't think that's true. I think they are making it in the wild. I think those are the best genetics. Those are the strongest bees. They're making it on their own with no help. Even if they just made it 1 year, they made it through that season without a beekeeper's help. Most of them did. Now, with that said, I have caught one swarm so far in a swarm trap and found a queen, and she had a white dot on her. Faded. It wasn't a fresh white dot. You could tell it had been on her for a while. Now, I think white is for what? 2021. This year is white, which I don't think she's this year's queen. And in 20, what would that be? 2016, I think is also white. And I don't think she was 2016. I think a beekeeper marked her with a white dot so it'd make it easier to see her. I don't think he went by the year, but that's just speculation on my part. I don't know. She was a great big queen, and she's laying a lot of eggs. So I think she's a good queen. But if I had to guess, and it's an educated guess, but I'd say she was last year's queen. that was marked white because so the beekeeper could see her. But she come out of somebody's hive that they took time to mark her. I don't know who. I don't know of anybody that has hives in that area. Another thing that I've seen, again, this is kind of, you know, along the line of, you know, learning or seeing what's going on, or, you know, if you're new starting out, what happens in a hive, or what I'm seeing. But I forgot where I was going with that too. I don't know. Anyway, he had marked. I was thinking about the hives that were in the area. I don't know if we have to watch. I try not to put up high. I know what I was going to say. It was when bees swarm, you know, how far do they go? It's another thing we could argue about. You know, a lot of beekeepers put up traps in their own apiaries. In case their hives swarm. But I don't think God made bees in such a way that if they swarm and look for a new home, I don't think they're going to try to find that home 50 feet from their old home. I think they're going to go to a whole new area. I think they're going to go, and that, you know, I've seen a few studies on that, but you know, who knows? Strap a camera to a bee. How do you know this stuff? You don't really. But I think that when you get catch a swarm in your own swarm trap by your apiary, you're probably catching bees from another area, probably not the same area that those bees are from. I think that if they were foraging in the same area that they came from, or the hive that they came from, they would go back to that original hive and not go to a new home that was just a few feet away, or you know, a few yards away, or whatever. So that's another thing we could debate on. Everybody, there's so many debates in beekeeping. The only other thing that I guess just an observation is that, and people can keep bees any way they want. It's, you know, I get to keep my bees how I think is best, and I try to listen to everybody and throw out some stuff with the dishwater, and some stuff I've heard some wild and crazy stuff this year. But I try to be open-minded, and I think we all should be open-minded and try to listen to new ways of doing things, or how other people do things. If we can decide for ourselves how to do it. And if maybe you're a beekeeper that doesn't, I know people keep bees for different reasons. Some people think all the bees are dying, so they want bees. Some people want them for pollination. Some people want to make honey. Some people want to make more bees. Some people want to sell queens. Everybody does it for a different reason. But man, the more I watch, and I know now you have Facebook and all this social media that you can keep up with everybody. You know, before, when I was keeping bees, we kept up with everybody once a month at the monthly Beekeepers Club meeting, and we'd catch up and see what everybody's doing. But now we see almost daily what everybody's doing in their apiary. And I had no idea. And it seems like and maybe I'm wrong, you can throw this out with the dishwater if you like, but I've never seen so many beekeepers that just let their hives swarm. You know, to me, part of being a beekeeper, one of the things that you have to learn, or to know, or to get to know, or learn from one year to the next, is how strong a hive has to be before it's going to swarm. And the way I see it, one of my jobs as a beekeeper is to keep that from happening. If I want more bees, if I want to raise queens, I'm not going to let my hive swarm if I can help it, and land in a tree and then hoping that I'm not working, or not at church, or not somewhere else, and lose it. But I've just seen a lot of beekeepers that just seem like, oh yeah, excited about, I got 7 swarms out of my apiary. I'm never excited to see I don't want to see any swarm. There's a line you gotta walk to have a strong enough hive on this side to make honey. I do it mainly for making honey, but not so strong that it swarms on this side. So you got to walk that line in between. But if I see a swarm, I feel like that I failed as a beekeeper. I didn't split that hive soon enough, put more frames in. I didn't do something soon enough to keep that hive from swarming. But you get on Facebook and it's like, oh, hey guys, check this out. I got 7 swarms out of my own hives. And I caught 3 of them and 4 of them got, you're losing. I don't understand. Maybe somebody can fill me in. And maybe that's natural beekeeping, or maybe that's something treatment-free beekeepers do. Or I don't know what it is, but that's kind of Greek to me. And I guess maybe the most surprising thing that I've noticed since I've got back into keeping bees, or since we've got so many social media outlets that we can see what everybody's doing all the time. But I'm never happy to see a swarm in my apiary. I guess I'd be excited if I was there and could catch them. But if that one's swarming and went into a tree, how many more have went into a tree and got away? I can't be there 24/7 to watch them hives. I don't have cameras, or you can't watch them all the time. I'm not excited when I see a swarm. I don't like it. We should know when to go in to that hive, and before they start thinking about it. That's another thing. Well, okay, apparently I need to split. I got swarm cells. Well, you got to know before you got swarm cells. If you've got swarm cells, they're swarming. It's going to happen. But you've got to know before you get there, before they get there and make that decision they're going to swarm, which is even before swarm cells. But you've got to know by the date, the time of year, your area, what's blooming. There's a lot of stuff you got to know to be able to, and how fast they're going to build, how much resources they have to build with, to be able to keep that hive from swarming and save the bees. Everybody talks about saving the bees, but they let them swarm in a tree and go to who knows where. I guess that's a good thing, because maybe I can catch them with a swarm trap. But it's just surprising to me. And like I say, people can keep bees any way they want, just like I can. And if that's what you like to do, then more power to you. It makes me more for swarm traps. So, but it's just something that I find unusual in an observation. But anyway, that's what's going on here in the Honey Hill Apiary. I'm looking forward. I got a presentation at Jan's for the garden club. She's got some beautiful roses and has the garden club come. I'm not sure how often, but they're coming here this month, and I'm doing a presentation there on beekeeping. I've got a couple traps at her house, her and Jim, and I'm looking forward to that, going out there and talking to them. Looking forward to getting some more swarms and swarms in boxes and seeing these hives build. They're just building up so quick. So I'm looking forward to all that stuff. But I've got, hate all this rain. I hate it this time of year. This is really May the 4th be with you. It's really, some of the times I've made the most honey here in Kentucky is around this time of year, and making a lot of honey. Hives making, a super hose, I think 2.5 gallons of honey, and I've had some hives make 2 supers, 5 gallons of honey in a week in the past, and they've done it in the first week, or first and second week of May has been the best time. So if it could rain right up until now and then quit and be sunny for a few days until it gets dry before it rains again, it would be great with me. But it's a really good time for making honey. Anything that you do right now, the bees, raising queens, bees, drawing out comb, anything that you can do in a hive is going to be successful, is more successful now than any other time. A lot of people try to do things now and it works out great, and then you do it in June or July and it doesn't work out well. There's no flow in the end of June and in July here in Kentucky to amount to anything. A little bit of clover in June, not much at all in July. So things that would, anything that you want to do, if you want to try to raise some queens, they won't rob each other because there's so much, they don't care if you give them sugar water, they're not trying to rob the sugar water because there's all kind of nectar. Things will change when this nectar flow is over. So it's a great time of the year. It's a great time to get out and do stuff. You can't hardly screw things up. This time of year makes you think, I've got beekeeping whipped and I'm an awesome beekeeper. it's this time of year that they do everything perfect. Trust me, it's the bees. When July hits and the dearth hits and we go into fall and then especially into winter, a lot of these, strongest colonies that you thought you had the world in the palm of your hand, it's a lot different story. But take advantage of it now, enjoy it, get out and enjoy the weather when it stops raining, and have a good time, because it's an awesome time of the year for beekeeping. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.